Alright guys, we're back with another Weekend Handyman video on the big red Jeep. As I speak right now, it is Labor Day weekend, and I have just been doing some light tinkering and whatnot. Let's see, yesterday I went and had my spare tire mounted on the spare wheel. I had them just throw in another bag of beads like the other four, since it's worked out, and as opposed to having that one, balanced the conventional way, I figured, just have them throw another bag of beads. This shop that I had gone to have that mounted could have apparently balanced that normal way. They were alright with doing that, but I had them just throw a bag of beads in there just to keep it, in sync with the rest of the Jeep, I guess you would call it. Another thing on my list of things to do, or small list of things to do right now, is actually get the tire mounted on the Jeep, and that requires me finishing the top part of the mounting system, which is technically finished. I just need to get bolts in there so I can mount up the tire to it like normal. Now, I had initially bought myself just normal wheel studs, thinking that's, how spare tires are mounted to tire carriers, without expecting to be anything special. Well, it turns out that there is actually a special stud that you're supposed to get for tire carriers that has a different length shank on it right here, and which is much shorter than a normal wheel stud. So I looked all over the place to try and find these special wheel studs, or tire carrier studs, I guess. I could not find them anywhere, aside from, I suppose, going to a dealership and getting them from a dealer. So I said F that, because dealers would end up charging me an arm and a leg for fucking studs. I went and got some normal bolts that are a 1/2 inch diameter and have a thread pitch of 20, which is what lug nuts usually are, or well, the Jeep ones are anyways. And I'm going to just feed them through the holes and weld them up. Or, well, not weld them, but just do it, some good tack welds on there. And then, because I need to have a little bit of space there, I went and got some thick fender washers. These are about twice as thick as a normal fender washer. So that'll add some space in there to bring the bolt out, so there's plenty of threads for my wheel nuts to get threaded on there. And also, if you notice, there's a bottle of this Aerospace 303 stuff. This is just a UV protectant. It's not necessarily meant to be just a tire shine like an Armor All, but it protects from UV, as opposed to Armor All, which shines the tire and actually over time damages the tire. This just protects it from UV so the sun doesn't dry the tires out and crack them. I have already done the other 4 tires that are on the Jeep, probably a couple weeks ago, and they came out good. I don't know, I'm assuming it's doing what it's supposed to. But of course, because now I have the 5th one that's going to get hung off the back of the Jeep, I need to get that one coated in Aerospace 303. And this tire actually isn't going to get hung off the back of the tire carrier. I'm going to actually rotate the tires all the way around, and this one will end up being on the Jeep, and one of the tires that's on the Jeep now will be against what's hung off the back of the Jeep. So, let's get started. First thing I'm going to end up doing is coating that tire over there in Aerospace. Then I will start by welding on those bolts to that thing over there. So when you use this Aerospace 303 stuff, the tire is supposed to be clean. The tire is definitely clean. What I've done is have it mounted, and it was in the back of the white Jeep. So the tire is plenty clean. What you're supposed to do is spray the tire down with this stuff. And then just wipe it all down with a rag, which is what this rag is. This is the rag that I used for the other 4. I'm going to use it on this one. The instructions say to get all of the excess off that you can, and that helps it bond, because any excess will just cause it to streak, and then it'll end up looking like shit, because it has huge streak marks in it and whatnot. So I'm going to do that to the outside and the inside, and then, you know, I'll probably call it good then, I guess. It is a bit of a pain in the ass on a tire like this to get in all the like little crevices up in here and whatnot, but this is way easier than doing them on the Jeep, which is how I did the other four. That was a lot worse than this. This is actually a lot easier than the first time I did on the other four over there. And there it is, all done. The back of the bottle suggests that you do this every, I think it was like 4 to 6 weeks. That's probably based on a car that's actually used every day. This Jeep mostly sits, so I don't think I'll have to do it that often, but I'll probably have to reapply it at some point. So I've got myself all ready to weld. As you can see, I've got the welder back there, and I'm considering how I'm going to actually do it, because the bolts, because they're not normal wheel studs or anything, you know, they have some movement back and forth. So I have to somehow line them up with the, you know, bolt pattern that's on the rim. So what I end up doing is I've ground a little spot on each one of these to be able to put a quick spot or a quick tack on each one of the washers. And because the washer is exactly the right size for the bolt, the washer will then just be the guideline for the bolt itself, and then I'll flip it upside down and put an actual good tack in here, which is where I decided to put it. So what I'm going to be doing is just putting this plate on the back side of this, feed the bolt through, take the wheel nuts or lug nuts or whatever, and put them on each one of the holes so it make sure it's actually lined up right way. Put a quick tack on it and whatnot, and we'll be good there. Now obviously I have to be careful about these tires, or this tire rather. It's an expensive tire, so I'll take some precautions on that to not melt it, and continue on. Alright, I got the now studs finished up, and I did a little bit of cleaning up on it, and I threw some more paint on there because after hammering on it a little bit and doing some welding on it, you know, the paint that was on there got pretty, well, not super destroyed, but a little bit messed up. It does fit perfectly on the, you know, the bolt pattern on my wheel there, and I have the tire carrier swung out right now because I was doing some test fitting and scraped it up a bit. Not that I'm super concerned about it because I'm going to coat it with my rust-proof grease, but I figured I'll put some more paint on it so it has the best chance of surviving. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and retighten all the bolts on this rear bumper now that it's, you know, had some time to settle in, been driven, and even been wheeled. If you haven't seen the wheeling video, check it out. I'll leave an annotation right here. Me and Ethan, another member of the Weekend Handymen, went out wheeling to a local trail out here, and so check that out. It's pretty good. Well, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and tighten all the bolts that hold that bumper on there and the skid plate and whatnot, and or in preparation for getting the tire on the actual mount itself. Alright, after a little bit of massaging to get the bolt holes lined up a little bit, I had to bend this tab out a little bit. Also, considering the fact that I had dropped it once didn't help, but it's on there. That's how the actual mount on the tire carrier for the tire will end up looking. I will need a help with a buddy to get it on there, and then I can adjust the depth this way further, out further. I think I could probably, well, actually looking at it now, I'll probably have to leave it right where it is, if not pull it out a little bit more. So that's how it's just going to look. Right now, I'm getting ready to turn the Jeep into a floating Jeep so I can rotate all the tires in and rotate this new one in, and then one of the ones that's on there now will end up on that tire carrier. Alright, so this is what it looks like to take the tires and wheels off of the Jeep. It's not pretty. They're pretty big and they're pretty heavy. I can still use normal jack stands. I don't need any special jack stands to do this anyways. Of course, a normal jack still works. It's only a 35, which is, you know, a big tire for our normal Jeep. But in reality, you know, a normal jack works just fine. You don't have to do anything special. But this is what it looks like to remove the tires and wheels off of it. And all I was doing here was just removing them so I could rotate them and rotate the new tire in. Unfortunately, it was kind of a gloomy day this day. It was a Saturday, I think. I forget exactly what weekend it was, but it was kind of a gloomy day in the morning. I think this was probably about 9 a.m. when I was filming this at the time. But yeah, the best way to do it, to get them off anyways, is to just pretty much just hug the thing all the way around, and you can pick it up just enough and it'll slide off. I believe these tires and wheels together end up weighing about almost between 65 and 70 pounds, I think, is what they end up weighing, with the, you know, tire and the wheel together. And, you know, of course they're super awkward because they're round. If you had a 70-pound box, you know, that's not a big deal to pick up, but because they're round and 35 inches across, it's kind of awkward to handle. Alright, so the Jeep is now floating, as you can see. Nothing special about it, just 4 jack stands. So the next task is to, of course, rotate the tires. Before that, though, I'm going to go ahead and check all the brakes to make sure nothing is doing anything funny. I took a quick stand, looks like nothing is, but I'll look a little bit further. And I also need to re-torque or check the torque on the rear spacers on my rear drums here. They're supposed to be, you know, the spacer itself is supposed to be torqued to 100 foot-pounds to the rest of the system, so I'm going to go ahead and recheck those, because if that starts to loosen up, that means studs are going to break and I'm going to lose a tire and who the hell knows what else. But I'm just going to act like I'm rotating tires like normal. The new one will get rotated into the rest of the system, and one of these will end up on the back, like I said. There is a particular order you're supposed to go in. I have looked it up because I did not know off the top of my head. It looks like that. You can look this up yourself on the interwebs, but I looked it up and it'll look like that. I'll be using this one over here on the right because that's for 4-wheel drive trucks, but that's what it looks like if you didn't know. Let's get to it. So of course I was able to get the tires and wheels all rotated back together, and everything went back together just fine. I did go around and check all of the brake components and whatnot, and I did check the tightness of the spacer bolts. Nothing needed adjusting, nothing was loose. The spacer bolts were just tight, or just perfectly tight, and they hadn't loosened up at all. The only thing that I did need to tighten was the bolts that go into the U-bolts, or the nuts rather that go into the U-bolts. Those had loosened up, but that's expected because U-bolts do stretch over time. So I had checked them last year. This will be the time I checked them this year, and they weren't super loose, but you know, I ended up needing to put probably a couple turns on them a little bit. But everything else checked out fine. The brakes were wearing evenly, you know, nothing to report really. So yeah, that's that. I didn't end up filming a closing segment, so you get to watch this quick onboard video. But as always, give us a like, be sure to subscribe, check us out on Facebook, the link is in the description, and share this video with all your friends. If you know anybody who's into Jeeps or cars or anything mechanical, really, share this video with them. I'm sure they'll find something they enjoy in it. Maybe not this one, or maybe one of the other ones in this series, but no matter what, get out there and do something.